Be quiet. If you speak too loud, the boy might fall to his death. He blinked at her, disbelief flooding his voice. What the hell did you just say to me? Maya didn't back down. Your son is sleepwalking. He's standing at the top of the stairs. If he hears your voice, if he wakes the wrong way, he could fall. Sleepwalking. Ethan's brain stalled, his mouth half open, words caught in his throat. My son doesn't sleepwalk, he hissed, jaw clenching. Mia looked him square in the eyes. Then you don't know your son. Wait, could this be happening right under his nose? The shock hit deeper than the accusation. He opened his mouth to argue, but Mia raised her hand again. If you felt connected to the character in this story, give this video a like and comment where you're watching from. You never know, someone near you might be watching, too. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories from Bup Stories. Don't move. Don't say another word. Just follow me quietly. Something in her tone, unshakable, firm, maternal, even, pierced the fog of disbelief. He obeyed. They turned the corner and looked up the curved staircase that spiraled to the second floor. There stood Caleb, his 6-year-old son, barefoot in flannel pajamas, clutching a small, worn-out lion by one paw. He was swaying slightly, eyes wide open but blank, like the lights were on, but no one was home. He stood just inches from the top step, one foot already hovering in midair. Time warped. Ethan's chest seized. No, he whispered. Yes, Maya murmured, already moving. She crept toward the stairs, her steps featherlight on the marble floor. Caleb, sweetheart, let's go back to bed now. The boy didn't flinch. His little body shifted slightly forward, a nightmare in motion. Ethan's pulse roared in his ears. His instinct screamed to run, grab him, but Maya waved him off with one sharp look. She kept humming something soft under her breath, inching closer until finally, she reached out and gently took Caleb's hand. Come on, baby. Let's go sleep, she whispered. Caleb blinked once, then slowly turned, like he'd been sleepwalking through fog and just caught the scent of home. She led him away, steady and slow, like guiding a candle through the wind. Ethan didn't exhale until they vanished down the hall. What secrets might this house still hold? Minutes passed before Maya returned. Her shoulders were tense. Her voice, however, was calm and ice-cold. You didn't know, did you? Ethan straightened. He's never done that before. He has, 4 nights in a row. I would have, he stopped because the truth slammed into him mid-sentence. He wouldn't have known. He hadn't been home. Maya watched him. The nanny's gone by 6 o'clock. Everyone else leaves before 8. I'm the only one here. You're not paid to stay. I didn't stay for pay. His voice sharpened. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Maya's expression didn't change. Because I didn't know if you'd listen. He stepped forward. You think I don't care about my son? I think you don't know what he dreams about, or what he fears, she added, almost under her breath. He cries for you, you know, in his sleep, calls you daddy, then curls up with that stuffed lion like it's you. The words cut deep. Ethan's voice lowered. You're speaking out of turn. And you're a father who doesn't realize his 6-year-old is walking the halls of a high-rise, one step from disaster. Silence. Maya folded her arms. I'm not trying to insult you, Mr. Blake. I'm trying to save your son. Ethan turned his back briefly, running a hand through his hair. His mind reeled. The calendar in his head was full: board meetings, press calls, private flights. But in all that, he hadn't made time to see the signs. He hadn't seen Caleb. He turned back around. Maya, I'm sorry. I accused you of overstepping, but you did what no one else did, including me. She nodded, accepting, not smug, not vindicated, just real. He needs someone at night, someone consistent, someone familiar. Kids that young, they don't sleepwalk unless something's stirring inside. Ethan's heart ached. He remembered nights from his own childhood: cold rooms, locked doors, voices down the hall. No one ever came for him in the dark. He whispered, "I'll be here more." "I mean it." You should." "Thank you," he added. "I didn't do it for thanks." He watched her for a beat longer, then asked quietly, "How do you know what to say to him? To make him turn back?" She paused. "Because I used to be him. A little kid wandering around in the dark, hoping someone would show up." She turned to leave. "Maya." She turned halfway back. "I don't know what he likes for breakfast," Ethan admitted. "I don't even know if he still eats pancakes." Maya gave a small smile. "He does, with blueberries, and he calls them magic circles." He chuckled under his breath, almost shamefully. "I'll learn." "You'd better," she said gently. "He's still looking for you, even in his sleep." Ethan stood in the quiet for a long while after she left. Then he stepped out of his shoes, loosened his tie, and walked softly into his son's room. Caleb slept, curled in a ball, clutching Lionel tightly. Ethan sat at the edge of the bed, watching the rise and fall of his son's chest. For the first time in what felt like years, he wasn't planning his next move. He was just there. Ethan woke up before dawn, still wearing yesterday's clothes, curled awkwardly on the small armchair beside Caleb's bed. His back ached. His legs were cramped. But for the first time in weeks, he didn't feel hollow. The boy was still asleep, a peaceful mound under the dinosaur blanket. Lionel tucked snugly beneath his chin. The soft glow of the nightlight painted stars on the ceiling, spinning in slow rotation like a gentle lullaby the room had memorized. Ethan stood quietly, not wanting to wake him. He stepped out into the hallway, blinking against the brighter light, and walked down to the kitchen. The silence of the penthouse had always comforted him. This morning, it felt like judgment. He brewed coffee slowly, the clink of the spoon against the ceramic mug sounding louder than it should. There were no maids bustling around yet. No assistants tapping iPads or reminding him of the day's meetings. Just him, alone in his own house. He sat at the breakfast counter, took a sip, and stared at the untouched fruit bowl. Maya's voice echoed in his head. "He cries for you, you know." In his sleep. He hadn't known. Not because he didn't care, but because he hadn't been looking. The elevator chimed softly. Maya stepped out in jeans and a hoodie under her apron, hair tied back. Her eyes widened when she saw him already seated. "You're up early," she said cautiously. "I never went to bed," he replied. She moved past him toward the sink. "How's Caleb? Still sleeping?" She nodded and began rinsing a handful of blueberries. The silence between them stretched. Not tense, just uncertain. "I was going to order breakfast," Ethan said, breaking it. "But I didn't know what he'd want." Maya glanced at him. "We have pancake mix, and I brought fresh berries." He cleared his throat. "Let me help." She turned fully now. "Seriously?" He shrugged. "I'm trying." A pause. Then she handed him a mixing bowl. "You ever cooked before?" "I've boiled water." Maya smirked. "All right, Chef Blake. Let's see what you've got." It was a messy affair. Flour on the counter, batter too thick, then too thin, one pancake burnt, one half raw. But Maya coached him through it with patience. And when Caleb shuffled into the kitchen, hair sticking up, eyes still heavy with sleep, he paused at the doorway. Confused. "Daddy," Ethan turned, spatula in hand. "Morning, buddy," Caleb rubbed his eyes. "You're here." "I'm here," Ethan said softly. "And I made pancakes." The boy's expression was blank at first, as if his brain couldn't compute the scene. Then slowly he smiled. "With magic circles." Ethan looked at Maya, who gave a quiet nod. "Yep," Ethan said. "With magic circles and blueberries, too." Caleb rushed forward and climbed into the high stool. "I'm hungry." Ethan plated two imperfect but warm pancakes and placed them in front of his son. Caleb dug in immediately, syrup sticking to his fingers and chin. As the boy chewed, Ethan sat beside him, watching every bite like it was a miracle. Mia turned away, giving them space, but not before Ethan caught the faint trace of a smile on her lips. Later that morning, after Caleb went off to his room to draw, Ethan and Mia stood near the window overlooking Central Park. The city had begun to stir, horns honking in the distance, the sun spilling over the skyline. "I canceled my meetings today," Ethan said. Maya raised an eyebrow. "All of them?" He nodded. "I told my assistant to reschedule the quarterly review and delay the investor briefings." She blinked. "That's not small." I figured it's time to stop running the world and try learning how to show up for mine." Her gaze softened. "You're making progress." He looked down at the city, hands in his pockets. "It's strange. I spend my days in rooms full of men who think they can control markets, time, technology. But none of that helped me see my own son was wandering the halls at night, lost." Maya didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Ethan continued, his voice keener. "I was so sure I was doing everything right, providing, protecting, giving him the life I didn't have. You forgot the part where he just needs you." He nodded slowly. After a long silence, he asked, "Can I ask you something personal?" Maya hesitated. "Depends what it is." "You said last night. You used to be that kid, waiting in the dark. What happened?" She took a deep breath. "My mom worked double shifts. We lived in a basement apartment with thin walls and no windows. I used to sit by the front door in case she came home early. Sometimes she did. Most nights I fell asleep on the mat." Ethan swallowed the lump in his throat. "She died when I was 17. Maya continued. "Heart gave out. Too many hours, not enough rest. I promised myself if I ever saw a kid like me again, I'd do something." "You did," he said quietly. She met his eyes. "It's not just about Caleb, you know. You're still here, which means you can change it." He gave a faint smile. "Is that your way of telling me not to screw it up?" "It's my way of saying don't wait until he's 17 and you don't recognize him anymore." They stood there for a moment longer. Strangers no more. That afternoon, Ethan took Caleb to the park. No nannies, no phone, just father and son. They ran, laughed, threw a frisbee terribly. And for the first time in Caleb's short memory, his father didn't vanish when the clock struck noon. When they came home, Caleb said, "Can we do this again tomorrow?" Ethan bent down, cupped the boy's cheeks, and smiled. "We'll do it every day I can." And deep inside, for the first time in a long time, he meant every word. The next morning, the sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse, warming the hardwood floors in golden light. The silence, once oppressive, now felt almost peaceful. Ethan stood in the hallway outside Caleb's room, holding a tray of pancakes, real pancakes this time, with perfect golden edges and just the right amount of blueberries. Maya had guided him again, but this time he'd flipped them himself. He gently knocked. No answer. He knocked again, then pushed the door open. Caleb wasn't in bed. The blankets were folded neatly. Lionel the stuffed lion sat at the pillow's edge, upright like a sentry. A quiet panic stirred in Ethan's chest. He checked the inside bathroom empty, then the closet. Nothing. He stepped out into the hall. "Caleb." No reply. A sinking sensation settled in. He hurried through the penthouse, calling again, louder this time. "Caleb, buddy, where are you?" He turned a corner and found Maya in the foyer, crouched beside Caleb, helping him into his sneakers. "He wanted to go outside," Mia said. "Said he wanted to walk the dog." "We don't have a dog," Ethan muttered, breathing easier. "He pretended one," Maya said with a smile. "Named it Butterball." Caleb looked up. "He's invisible, but he listens real good." Ethan chuckled despite himself. "Breakfast in the dining room, champ. Made them just for you. Pancakes again. Magic circles." Ethan corrected with a wink. As Caleb ran off, Ethan turned to Maya. Thanks for covering again. You're doing better, she said. That day, will that lady ever find me again? Ethan paused. The question carried weight beyond childhood innocence. He knelt beside him and met his eyes. No one can reach you if you know who's on your side. You have so many people protecting you, Maya, Miss Rivera, me, your friends, your teachers, and you have yourself. Caleb nodded thoughtfully, then smiled. Okay. They arrived home and Ethan caught Maya's eye. No words passed, just understanding. Healing was continuing. That evening before bedtime, they added to the memory jar. Caleb wrote, swinging with Daddy. Ethan, seeing him laugh freely. Maya, a partner rebuilding a family. They sealed the slips inside with careful hands as they nestled together for the night. Caleb sandwiched between them, the memory jar glowing faintly by the lamp. Ethan whispered. Thank you for staying, Mia kissed his cheek. We stay because love is the bridge that brought him back, and it's strong enough for all of us. In the hush, the penthouse felt less like a fortress and more like home. And in that home, under the soft patter of city night, healing turned into living again. One ordinary beautiful moment at a time. The next morning, sunshine streamed into the penthouse, illuminating a drawing taped to the fridge. 3 figures holding hands, standing under a rainbow. It didn't hang there because they needed reminders. It was there because they'd earned the right to display hope. Ethan yawned and slid fresh maple syrup onto pancakes. Rainbow breakfast, he called. Caleb bounded in. Blue socks mismatched, hair still sleepy but grin bright. Maya followed, coffee in hand, the soft promise of a new day in her eyes. That day, they made space for something new. Ethan had suggested and Maya had agreed to join a parenting group that met weekly at the community center, a place where parents could share experiences, support one another, and remind each other that healing wasn't a solitary road. That afternoon after Caleb was at school, Ethan and Maya sat in a circle with other parents, some new to therapy, others veterans of grief and fractured families. The room itself felt ordinary, folding chairs, a faint hum of air conditioning, posters of smiling families on the walls. That normalcy steadied them. A mother of 2, looking quietly resolute, shared how her daughter had developed nighttime fears after a car accident. A father spoke about rebuilding trust after a long divorce. Ethan listened. Maya squeezed his hand. When their turn came, Ethan cleared his throat. We were through something unimaginable. We lost trust of ourselves, of each other. My son thought he lost his dad, and I thought I lost him. There were nods, soft murmurs, recognition. Maya added. But we're learning that presence, even small and imperfect, mends what fear broke. A unique warmth rippled through the room. They didn't need applause or answers. Just the knowledge that they weren't alone. On the walk home, hand in hand, the city felt different, softer, hopeful. A green awning, a neighbor watering flowers, the quiet sound of traffic softened by calm. That evening, Caleb tumbled into the living room with homework. Ethan sat beside him. No rush. Maya returned to the kitchen with tea. They felt balanced, taut with possibility. Then the phone rang. It was Agent McCrae. We've got a development, her voice said, firm but kindly. Maya and Ethan exchanged glances. Marissa was located this afternoon. McCrae continued. She's en route back to treatment court. Ordered psychiatric stabilization. No custody. No contact. The judge found your case compelling. Ethan exhaled, relief surfacing. Maya pinched his hand. Healing reached through the phone line. Later, Ethan shared the news with Caleb. The boy's eyes brightened, confusion giving way to relief. She's not coming back, he asked. No, Ethan said, voice steady. She's getting help. And you have us? Yes. Caleb nodded, secure in the clarity that love, present and consistent, was stronger than fear. That night, they added a slip to the memory jar. Caleb wrote, when Daddy made me feel safe. Ethan wrote, McCrae's call. Maya wrote, healing out loud. They placed the jar on the mantel, now more than a ritual. A testament. As night settled, Ethan tucked Caleb in and whispered again. You're safe no matter what. Caleb sighed, tossing Lionel into the air. And I have pancakes tomorrow. You'll have rainbows, Ethan replied with a grin. In the quiet darkness, Maya stood outside the door, watching her family breathe. She realized something profound. They had built not just a home. They'd built a heart big enough to stretch toward healing, toward trust, toward a future where fear still existed, but didn't run their lives. They whispered goodnight one final time, and in the hush that followed, the city's distant hum felt kind, full of promise, and entirely theirs. Friday arrived like a comma in their lives, a pause after the long sentence of turmoil. The city's hum felt gentler through the penthouse windows, and inside a sense of grounded calm had settled in like a familiar friend. Caleb burst into the kitchen early, socks mismatched again, hair a tousled halo. He peeled open the memory jar and pulled out a slip of paper. Today's memory, he declared, scrambling to read. Ethan smiled, drying his hands on a towel. What's it say? Caleb cleared his throat dramatically. When Daddy came to the picnic and didn't leave. He looked up, bright-eyed. That was my best day. Maya paused by the stove, spoon in hand. It was a pretty great day. They all shared that moment, the warmth of it softening everything that had come before. That afternoon after school, Maya suggested an art project in the living room. Let's make a memory collage, she said. Pictures, drawings, little tokens of things that made you feel safe or happy. Caleb's eyes widened. Like our jar. Exactly, Maya said. They spread a large sheet of paper on the floor. Ethan gathered scissors, glue sticks, colored paper, and markers. Caleb rummaged through old drawings, photos from the school picnic, and the little magic circles pancake wrapper saved in a Ziploc. They worked in content silence at first, arranging pieces, snapshots of laughter, small pressed flowers from their walks in the park, ticket stubs from a family movie night, and a bit of fur from Lionel's ear that Caleb insisted he keep. It became something more than a collage. It was a map of healing. Hours passed, and as the daylight slipped away, their creation filled nearly half a wall. Ethereal, heartfelt, patched together with sticky glue and trust. When it was done, Ethan stepped back. This is our heart, he whispered, taped together, but still beating. Caleb climbed into his lap. It's home. That evening, after dinner, Ethan spoke to Maya softly. We should start looking for an apartment for you. You know, just in case. Maya paused, scissors in hand. She looked around. Are you sure? I don't want us to rely on this huge place forever. You belong here, but it should be a place where you feel rooted. She smiled, a little wry, a little moved. I'd like that. In the days that followed, they began touring apartments together. Not rushed, just starting the search. During open houses, Caleb would lead with confidence. This could be mine and Daddy's. Ethan would laugh and Maya would examine the closets, imagining placing her own little photo frame or a plant on the windowsill. Meanwhile, the custody case moved forward steadily. Therapy appointments for Caleb were scheduled, and Miss Rivera visited periodically, reinforcing consistency and trust. Agent McCrae checked in by email, gently reminding them that her support extended beyond the courts and the station house. One Saturday during a rainstorm that felt like a cleansing lullaby, they stayed inside in their pajamas, pancakes, pillows on the floor, a marathon of old family movies. Tony even stopped by with hot soup and stories of his own childhood mischief. The layers of their life were filling in, and the empty corners were now full of people and routines and soft laughter. That evening, Caleb clutched a new drawing, 3 figures together again, this time with a small house beneath a rainbow. Mama, he said, handing it to Maya. This is our home. Maya knelt beside him and placed it on the mantel alongside the memory jar and the collage. Thank you, she whispered. Later, Ethan found Maya standing quietly in the living room, resting her hand on the collage. You've made this place richer, he said. Thank you for believing it could be more than just walls. She turned to him, eyes soft. You made it more than walls. You made it care. That night they slept deeply. No nightmares, no lingering fears, just the closeness of family repaired by days of ordinary brave love. And outside the city's lights pulsed gently, steady, alive, and new again. The morning sun filtered through the penthouse windows in warm honeyed beams. The living room hummed with quiet life, cards from neighbors, art supplies still scattered on the table, residue of routines reclaimed. The memory jar glinted beside the collage. Proof of perseverance sealed in glass and paper. Caleb bounded down in pajama shorts and a t-shirt featuring his favorite superhero. Maya carried a small cardboard box. Ethan followed with a stack of brochures and keys. Today was the day they welcomed a new chapter. They stood in the living room, sunlight catching dust motes drifting lazily. "It's official," Ethan said, voice steady. "We've signed the lease." Mia opened the box and placed a small framed picture inside, 3 stick figures under a rainbow, drawn first by Caleb, now printed and framed. "Our family," Mia said, "in our first new window." Caleb clapped and raced to hug them both. Later, at the moving van parked in the street below, they loaded boxes labeled memory jar, Lego towers, pancake gear. Each box carried the weight and lightness of daily love. Neighbors watched, waved, brought muffins and coffee. The community that once felt distant now lined the street in solidarity. Some offered help carrying things up the stairs once they reached their floor. When they stepped into the new apartment, the space echoed emptiness, white walls, bamboo floors, distant city hum. Yet every empty corner held possibility. Ethan sat down a box full of storybooks. Maya unpacked a box labeled comfort. Inside were Lionel, Butterball's stuffed head, extra pillows, the collage rolled in protective paper. Caleb ran straight to the balcony and waved at the city skyline. "Hi, new home," he said, voice echoing with hope. Later that evening, all 3 sat on the floor surrounded by boxes half unpacked. Ethan held Caleb's hand. "We're making this our new home together," Maya added. "With pieces of our old one in new." Light, they unpacked the memory jar first, gently placing its treasured slips in a shoebox to keep close. Knowing rituals would rebuild again in this space. When bedtime came, the new apartment still smelled faintly of paint and promise. In Caleb's room, Ethan tucked him in. Maya placed Lionel on the pillow and whispered, "Good dreams, kiddo." Outside his door, they turned on a soft nightlight glow. The new space, their choice, freed of fear, felt sacred. That night they slept surrounded not by walls but by intention. Homestanding not in rooms but in each other's presence. They had walked through fear, through healing, through memories, dark whispers, and woven a new story full of light, belonging, and the simple miracle of together. And so their journey ended not in finality but in quiet endurance. 2 hearts and a child making home step by step. Drawing stories stronger than shadows. This story reminds us that true healing doesn't come from shutting out the world, but from opening our hearts to love, trust, and connection. It shows that family isn't just built by blood, but by presence, protection, and everyday acts of care. Through fear, betrayal, and redemption, we learn that justice can be quiet, and courage often looks like staying, showing up again and again for the people who matter most. Even after the deepest wounds, it is possible to build something beautiful. If you enjoyed this journey, don't miss the next story from Bup Stories. Subscribe now.